welcome to Turn the Page, the official podcast of the Syosset Public Library.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Turn the Page. I'm your host today, Jen, and I am joined by a comics creator who has shared with me a book that I found so beautiful and so fascinating and so very relevant to our current moment. Welcome to our show. Could I ask you to introduce yourself and your book, please?
Hi, I'm Hanna Harms. I'm so glad to be here and to talk about my book. It's a comic called Milk Without Honey, and it's a kind of comic, graphic novel, whatever you want to call it, about the bee extinction and the kind of importance of bees in our world, and kind of leading up to not only bees, but how important insects are to humanity and the working of the world.
Hmm. Yeah, it's so fascinating. It's a topic I knew a little bit about, but not too much, and I learned so much from this book. Could you tell us a little bit about your journey as a comics creator and what led you to this project?
Actually, in the beginning, I didn't know anything about the topic either. I kind of always wish I have like some kind of close-knit story to tell. Like my grandfather always had bees, and that's how the connection happens. But actually, I studied design with a focus on illustration early on. And during an exchange semester I did in Jerusalem,
Mm.
I drew my very first comic with like the guidance of Rutu Modan. She's an amazing professor. And I never thought I'd actually draw my own comic one day, even though I grew up reading comics. But I never saw myself drawing one. But then, like a little bit later, maybe a year or so, I was looking for a topic for my thesis.
Mm.
And I had read an article about how the story of bees is so closely interconnected to the story of humanity. And that kind of stuck in the back of my head. And then I heard a lot about news about bee extinction and insect extinction. And that just kind of formed itself into like this paradox in my head that like on the one side there's this close-knit story, and on the other hand we as humans are the ones responsible for this extinction happening. And I couldn't get it out of my head. So I decided that if this is something that's kind of stuck with me, then I might as well make a book out of it. And that's how that happened. And a little bit later, I sent out like exposés to publishers and got it published like 2 years later.
Excellent. Yeah, it's hard to pick a thesis topic because you have to live with the topic for so long, so you really have to be interested. Um, I'm curious about what your research was like about bees. Did you learn anything that was really surprising to you or that changed the project for you?
I think as because I didn't study biology or anything closely related, like I'm coming from the visual point of view.
Mm.
So I just tried to read as much as I possibly could, and try to like for every single fact I used within the book, I tried to find it in like at least three different sources, just to make sure. So I tried to read a lot. And like by reading, I kind of realized that the bee is the best researched insect there is.
Mm.
So there's a lot of information out there. And I kind of struggled for a while to distill the story I wanted to tell out of all of this information. So I think that was my main struggle, to kind of decide what's important to tell the story and what are like interesting and important facts, but maybe not important to the overall story I wanted to tell. Mm, and then I had a kind of second struggle to combine everything into like a visual story.
Yeah. Yeah, I bet it sounds hard. And, it's a very large topic with a lot of, very complicated, interrelated ideas that you have to weave together. And, you do it so well. You do such good, efficient storytelling. And I'm curious, do you think that comics is a very good medium for taking complicated ideas and presenting them in a simple way? And why do you think that is, if so?
I think it's actually a perfect fit, because you have like through like the panels, you have like different compartments on like a double spread or a page, and you can like distill a lot of complex information into not that much of a space.
Mm.
So I felt like it's easier to have like a visual aspect and like having the possibility to write as well, just to like combine everything and not to overwhelm the person reading. Because
Mhm.
I felt overwhelmed while researching, so I tried not to put that burden on anybody else reading my book.
Well, thank you.
And
Appreciate it.
I feel like comics is like a perfect way to do that because you don't have to say everything within words.
Mm,
You can just leave something out, and it's like information that's there, but it's something that might come across more subconsciously and doesn't have to be said out loud.
mm. Yeah, and it occurred to me while you were talking that the images can do, two things at once in a way because they can convey information, but they also create so much emotion and the mood and the tone, and so it is very efficient in that way too.
Yeah, I always felt like I could say with the text what I wasn't able to say within pictures or images, and the images could say what I wasn't able to come to say in words, more or
Mm,
less.
lovely. Were you involved in the translation process at all? Because you have a translator for the text, and I'm curious about what that was like, working with a translator and seeing somebody else, work with your words and use them.
I think I kind of involved myself in the process. Because the British publisher, they had their translator, and then they sent me the more or less finished translation, and I kind of had some feedback. So after that, we had like a little bit of back and forth, just making sure that everything was translated how it was meant to be. And it was because it was the second language the book got published in, aside from Germany. So the first one was Italy. So it was like a completely different experience because I don't speak Italian. So I have no idea what this book, which is kind of what I wrote, but now also I didn't write.
Yeah.
And I had some readings in Italy this year. It's it's so fascinating to hear words that I've written in a language that I don't speak.
Mm.
So the experience was completely different having being involved in a translation that I'm able to insert myself
Mm.
into.
That's so interesting. And it's a nice parallel, I think, because the book talks about what is really an international global concern. And you have had this global experience of sharing the book and putting it in different languages. That's a really lovely resonance.
Yeah. I tried to write it in a way that it's not completely talking about Germany only. So I
Mhm.
think it starts here more or less, just like how the trees and the landscapes are drawn and everything. But it could be anywhere. So I tried to leave it open.
Yeah, because yeah, we do see it here too. It's uh really interesting to see different places kind of wake up to this concern and the processes and the strategies for dealing with it. And speaking of that, I feel like this book is going to, educate people on a topic they might not know about. And so I'm curious what sources you would recommend or what next steps you would recommend for people who want to know more or get involved.
So first off, I try to include some of my sources in the back of the book as like further information for anybody who's interested. And I read a book, I'm not sure if it's available in English, but it's called The Bee, a Declaration of Love.
Oh.
It's by, I think it's published by Greenpeace, at least in Germany. And then Jürgen Tautz, who wrote The Afterword, he wrote like a bunch of books about bees. And so I can recommend those.
Oh, excellent. The book does have a beautiful foreword and afterword from really lovely writers and accomplished people.
Oh yeah, I remember like the German version only has the afterword, but yeah, the English one has like a forward too.
Wow. So yeah, this is such a beautiful book and I really enjoyed reading it so much. Are you working on anything else at the moment? Are you writing more comics or, what's next for you?
I'm actually working on a kind of second volume for the book. It's about deforestation mainly. The German book is going to be called Forest Without Trees. I'm not sure how that's going to translate, but there's like a German saying about how you're not able to see the forest because of all the trees. Which kind of translates to something like that everything is so close in your face that you aren't able to see the full picture. I think that might be like a good explanation for that.
Interesting.
So yeah, that's the second book.
A great image because I think that might relate to the bee issue as well. Like we are used to seeing bees in our everyday landscape and we don't think about these larger systems. So I really like applying that lens to deforestation too. It's you're tackling all these environmental concerns and making them, I think, really understandable for people who are new to it. And that's a great service.
Thank you. Yeah, we're trying to, like me and the German publisher, we talked early on about doing like a series about how human actions kind of what consequences they have on the environment. So deforestation is like the next one in line, but sadly the topics aren't going to run out anytime soon.
Oh, I know, it's unfortunate. Yeah, I was going to say I'm excited, but I'm not excited about deforestation. I'm excited about your book. So,
Yeah, I'd much rather not have to write those books, but
yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing the book with me and, talking about your work. It's been really interesting, and I'm so excited for our readers here to see it. Thank you.
thank you so much.
Welcome. Okay, listeners, it's your turn now. Please check out Milk Without Honey. I think you'll really love it. The art is so beautiful, and it's a really important topic that I really think everybody should know a lot more about. Okay, so go to your favorite comic book store or library or bookstore, wherever you like to go for those things. It is now time to close this chapter. Bye-bye.
It's time to close this chapter of Turn the Page. Join us for the next episode.